Sometimes YouTube is very mysterious in ways that not everybody particularly likes. Or maybe they're annoyed by the directness sometimes, but in this case I have in mind somebody known as centrist philosopher who talked well over 9 minutes about what has disgusted him for some time. And I think that by far, most of his fellow citizens agree with what bothers them. And then he closed in an emotional statement, can't say why, about how whereas he does not feel he has any legitimate cause to resort to violence or thuggery of any kind, he suggests that people who are just as disgusted about anything don't have a right to indulge in thuggery or vandalism, and such as happened to in his town. And so, and in particular, people who have their cars turned over and put afire, mostly cop cars, but then there's been some others also, vandalism and what have you. His statement had a lot to do with how disgusted he is with the media, with a lot of establishment parts of the community or the economy, depending on one's emphasis. The same thing, community and economy. I prefer the word economy. Others prefer the word community. And yet, there are those who see how synonymous that turns out to be. In practical terms, I'd like to say, though, that to anybody as good and decent as the centrist philosopher, who did acknowledge the skills that Alex brings to any given copy of the unabridged dictionary that people like so very much throughout the UK and beyond. Being able to use words as easily as some concert pianist approaches the keyboard, I've marveled at that, and others have, and some people can do that simply rattling off what they happen to think about something. Then there are people like me, who follow along, glad to follow along because, I might have something to talk about. But, and then I think of who the centrist philosophy has in mind. I think he has in mind people just like himself who have aspirations to be trained in a given field. And then, frankly, I worry, is he smart enough to notice that he's being led around by the nose through a pile of malarkey about like somebody in the Marines, doing a sufficient number of push-ups to get promoted to Lance Corporal and all the way up to General someday. And whereas it may start off with, symbolic push-ups, for a lieutenant general to get 4 stars means that he must do something similar, in terms of his line of work. He doesn't have to do push-ups, but believe you me, to get that 4th star involves a performance. Whether it's grudging or better is a matter of opinion, and whether it's good enough is a matter of opinion. Whose opinions matter? Well, centrist philosopher asked that question, and I join in asking that question, and I wonder, what is a good person supposed to do? Someone capable of wanting to practice law. He sees, what's before him and starts walking to get where he wants to go. It's not the same as the study to become an engineer, to build a bridge or a building. It's not the same as studying medicine to take care of somebody who has had a heart attack trying to practice law, or as a surfer, or a basketball player with Marfan syndrome or whatever. An overdose among a starlet or something, on and on. It's not the same as someone trying to practice law or do anything of the sort. And the centrist philosopher might know that right now it's a rough and tumble game to try to attract an audience. The cost of entry for someone on YouTube is amazingly low, except that some people have this insight about looking in their mirrors to see what they have to offer and not doing much else. And when they do, sometimes they're interesting results. Also, of course, many who just keep on trying and just kind of messing around, a hobby, Then there are the superstars who begin right out of college, and within 6 months they have 500,000 viewers. I know someone who's headed for his first million 2 years out of college. That means, among other things, he makes about $6,500 per month minimum. So that could turn your head if you're trying to be an opinion leader. And naturally, it matters very much to me because in my washed up life, I've been canceled in every way possible, but I still have some sentient flicker of interest in how people are doing. And it's terrific, from my point of view, to see people do things very well somehow, whether it's easy or not. I know some people, though, for example, some pianists who might have struggled in their early teens, 13 years old, with all that has been written for the most talented. And they might struggle until they're 18. And then they literally just, are amazing. They truly are, And so what people should learn to do is to understand that people like that are obvious when they play the piano. Some are almost as obvious when they offer their opinions. But it's not the same game. Some people wouldn't know a good opinion if it bit them. Right now we have, a cacophony on YouTube, and it's difficult. And some of the worst habits are copied by some of the best people, and vice versa. So it's tough. But, maybe I'm just too jaundiced or something, but, like a lot of people, I thought, well, maybe if you pay the dues, if you pay the amazing dues, you get on the other side of the malarkey to become a barrister, and then you have some discretion, and you can begin to make a big difference. I'll tell you the truth, though. The people who are vetted as they are for that generally turn out to be people who know how to take orders. And so, if people prepare themselves, then there may be occasions when they can tell lawyers what they must do. That's simply the long and short of it. So that if you want to be a really good lawyer, there's nothing in the world better, than a good lawyer when you need one. But I can tell you that there's so many ethical challenges among any number of people that maybe we need a few people who know what must be done. There seem to be few. On the other hand, maybe a lot of people know what must be done, but somehow they can't find a way to communicate effectively, and then what must be done is for people to learn how to communicate. Now, I would not want to ruin the lives of any promising attorneys, but I think that they begin a distinguished career sometimes clerking for a prominent judge. And there's a reason for that. So I return to the idea of, who will tell a good attorney what to do. Probably if he can afford to hire the attorney, most likely. They don't work for free. It is pro bono or various conditional facility between lawyers and non-lawyers, but that's beside the point. Except to say that for example, in my case, nobody's taken a contingency that would make us prosper simply because of the wrongs done, and apparently it's just easier to be an attorney the way they've been, as far as I know, and I try not to worry about it. On the other hand, there are those who might handle ethics and philosophy having to do with any number of things that apparently aren't going to be heard in my lifetime, but I have this feeling about YouTube, for example, that there's going to be a maturation. There'll be a time when people will begin to form groups online a little bit more expeditiously than is provided for thus far. I think there are other sites that provide that, but there'll come a time when the strategy of YouTube will be not vastly different, except that they can do a few things to make things easier, and failing that, people can learn how to link each other so that the public and the peers involved can remain effective. But I don't expect to be around when all that is self-evident. We're in a case now a situation now where it's rough and tumble, and I encourage every decent person to figure out what must be done. And I think it's fine if somebody can tick off all the things that has disgusted him, and then say, what's more, there are things that have made others disgusted, but I don't think that they have the right to vandalism and murder and all of that, thuggery. And so that's fine. But however persuasive people can be with YouTube, it must be, if people get their priorities in order, the very most promising might sidestep the drudgery that is used to absorb the incoming throngs of wannabes who are fitted with a halter and a saddle or whatever, and after a while they do as they're told. There's nothing wrong with that. Not only that, I would say the enterprise, which is to do that, has somewhat failed. That is to say, the discipline promised by those who are involved in that process have failed because there are a lot of loose cannons and a lot of people who don't listen to people that deserve to be heard. I know a lot of people who deserve to be heard, and my habit is not to interrupt some of them, although I do that regularly when they're on YouTube because of the different magical interface that YouTube offers. It's a technological wonder. Come in. All right. There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. You see, my situation doesn't offer the opportunity for much more than opinionating, and when I see somebody who cares and who might adjust his priorities, then I'm interested. Of course, I'm interested if people don't. But it's not going to be enough good people, salt of the earth, anywhere in the United Kingdom, to say that they are disgusted with thuggery. And disgusted with failed media. And voting, last time I noticed, has simply not been effective. That's what I mean about, people who have supposedly been fitted with a halter by the voters, and yet they don't respond correctly. It's an ugly idea, isn't it? Really? That votes should fit a halter on public servants? That's an ugly idea, is it? What's uglier? Civil affairs in the last several weeks, in the halls of power, in the hallways of power, corridors of power, and in the streets. Maybe it is an ugly idea to say that voting should put a halter on a fine steed responsible for good results. But instead, what do we have in Great Britain? And do you know that the world watches? I'm sure you know. If you're in the UK, you know that the world watches what happens, because the collapse of the British Empire has been underway for a long time, and now that people know that the American Empire is also collapsing, well, there's a comparison of notes, and that might be a good thing. However, there will be no useful comparison of notes if censorship causes dangerous results beyond anything some fuss budgets who want approval from failures might ever have dreamt of in their worst nightmare. So I want to talk to the centrist philosopher and say thank you for taking the time, and I hope that you know the difference between one kind of work and another, no matter how difficult it may be to select among your options. I know that you should do better than I have. You should avoid being canceled. That might be on your mind quite a bit. But there's canceling and there is canceling. You can be canceled one way or another. And in each case, you end up in the same jail. You could take the long way to the jail or the short way to the jail. Or maybe you can avoid that altogether. Or if you go to the jail, it might be on Bastille Day. And gosh, what would that mean? What does that mean to you? I wonder if you thought about it. Maybe you'll tell me someday. Well, bye for now. It's what? For what it's worth, it's 5:33 p.m. Tuesday the 13th, 2024. And good luck with your overcoming any unnecessary inactivity, and for getting enough rest to undertake something really serious about what's missing in your environment.